I love the Youth Theological Initiative. I love the Youth Theological Initiative.
So a lot of us have a lot. I think I probably have 20 Bibles in my office. I can show you some of the ones that I have. My standard version. Michael, you're welcome to borrow that. This is another version of the CEB. This is sort of your pure pew Bible. That kind of looks like what you might see in your church pew. Not as cool as the one you guys have. Has anyone ever seen this before? Raise your hand if you've seen this before. Okay. It's a little generational. Yamani's seen it, but the rest it seems like Handler students are the ones who've seen it. So what is revolve? Yamani, do you know what this is?
It's like the same thing. It's more like generated for younger people.
Yeah.
And then it has like, well, mine's have like stories that happen to people that relate to it, but it's like all different stories from all different types of people. But people usually in your age, they have a girl.
That's right. So here's the boy version. Refuel is the girl version. Revolve. There are more recent editions of this. But this is the New Testament written to be like a magazine. And as Yamani says, it has scripture, but then it also has all these sidebars with other stories from people's experience and other articles. And I show these to you because it matters the form that it comes in, right? And it goes for the same thing of what you've got. What's in your new YTI Bible, there's extra prayers, there's discussion questions, there's these little boxes that have sort of explanations or questions, right? And all of those things can add to and help you learn more, but they also come from a particular perspective that might push you to think about Scripture in one particular way, right? So if you read the Bible, if you read Luke out of here, you might come up with a different interpretation than if you read Luke out of here, because all of the things that are around it, the pictures and the extra tips are going to shape how you think about that passage. So it matters the form that it comes in. It also matters who you are when you come to the text to read it. This is just a snapshot of who we are in this room. And it does not in any way cover everything, right? But we've got people from all around the world. We've got people with roots in Ethiopia, with Cape Verde, with Nigeria. We have people who are of African descent, but who have been here for a very long time. Chinese, Korean, Native American, European American, Irish, Palestinian, Caribbean, multiracial. Any other ethnic or national identities here that I didn't name? Okay, yeah. Cuban, thank you, Cuban American. We have a bunch of different denominations, United Methodist, Baptist, and of course within Baptist, there's all kinds of Baptists, right? All the Baptists in the room know that not all Baptists are the same or think the same, right? Not all Methodists are the same or think the same, as Michael was talking about earlier this morning. We've got non-denominational. Well, of course, by definition, non-denominational is going to be different from church to church. Orthodox Christian, Roman Catholic. We have other kinds of Catholics as well. Presbyterian, Church of Christ, Mennonite, UCC, Jewish, Buddhist, multi-faith. Anything else I've forgotten? Anyone identifies with in here? Okay. Now we come from all these different states from the United States: Georgia, Florida, Ohio, Mississippi, Texas, Tennessee, Massachusetts, New York, North Carolina, Illinois, Alabama. Other states? Anyone draws their roots from? Virginia. Yep. Okay. And I actually from Virginia too. We've got male, we've got female, we've got LGBTQ, we've got straight folks, we've got people who are married, we have people who are in serious relationships, we have people who are single, we have people who have children that they take care of, we have people who have fur babies that they take care of, right? Jennifer and Alan got fur babies. The widest range of ages. We have people in their teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in this room right now. Some of us grew up in rural contexts. Maybe you grew up on a farm, or maybe you grew up in a small village or a small town. Some of us grew up in the suburbs. Some of us grew up right in the city. Some of us grew up with lots of resources, and some of us grew up with not so many resources. And we can think of resources in all kinds of ways, right? So this level of diversity means that all the different particular ways that make you you shape how you read the text. I did not grow up on a farm. When I read scripture that talks about the sower planting seeds, it's harder for me to understand what that means. Jesus was talking to people who planted seeds and who knew immediately what it meant to plant seeds. But since I've never planted seeds, I have to work extra hard to understand the full meaning of that text. That's just one example. There are other passages in scripture that are very much about being in the city of Jerusalem. If you're not a city person, sometimes you don't understand as well either. All right, so who we are shapes how we interpret passages. So there's several assumptions in today's plenary, and we're going to be moving around and stuff, so it's not a lecture, it's just a mini lecture today. But I wanted to be upfront about some of my assumptions, okay? So one of them is that different people who come from different places and have had different experiences in life will read the Bible differently. I just assume that that is true. And since we are so different from each other in this room, we're going to come up with different readings of the Bible. Another assumption I have is that being in conversation with people who read the Bible differently is good. It's a good thing that we would disagree. It's a good thing that we see different things in the text. Because of the fact that I didn't grow up in a farm and I've never planted seeds before, it's really helpful for me to talk to somebody who actually has experience in gardening or farming. It helps me understand the true meaning of the text better, right? It helps me if someone's had a personal experience that shapes how they've read something and I haven't had that personal experience. Bless you. Right? And it pushes me, when we're in dialogue with each other, it also pushes us to understand our own viewpoint more. A lot of us, myself included, spend most of our time surrounded by people who more or less think like us, or who more or less grew up like us. And when you do that, then it means that you're not necessarily having to articulate what you believe. So, for example, trying to explain the Trinity. You might have grown up with the Trinity, and you're like, oh yeah, the Trinity, I believe in the Trinity. But have you ever tried to explain the Trinity to someone who's Jewish or Muslim? It gets hard, because the Trinity is a really hard concept, right? And if they ask you follow-up questions, then you're like, oh, I don't know. How does Jesus have both divine and human? I don't know. I just believe it, right? You usually don't have to explain it because you're surrounded by people who either are not interested in your opinion, or they believe more or less the same thing, or assume that you do, so you're never asked to explain it, right? So only when we're in a different community are we pushed to actually get more articulate about what we really think. And sometimes you don't know what you think until you've been asked a question. Okay? And my final assumption for now is that, as I said, we haven't thought a lot about who we are, where we come from, and who are our people, and how that shapes how we read the Bible. So we need to work on this. So this is what we're going to do. I have a handout, and make sure you have a writing utensil. One sheet per person, that includes staff. There's extra, I didn't cut it out exactly, so if you have extra at the end, pass it forward. If you're running low, raise your hand. Yeah, just raise your hand if you need more. There's an extra anywhere. All right, you were still raising if you need more. That's an extra. Thank you. Try not to waste too much paper. It should be more or less exactly one person. Staff people, if you remember which number you had signed up for, you can go ahead and take your places at one of these stations. The numbers are in the little table tents around there. But I would include, but then when you sit down, go ahead and fill this out. But take a few moments, all of you, and just jot down your answers to these questions. And know that there's no right or wrong answer at all. If you don't know how to answer that question, that is okay. You can skip it and move on, okay? You can also skip around. If there's other questions that are more interesting to you, you can skip around. Jump to some other ones. But try to answer as many of them as you can, and I'll give you some time to do that.
I love the Youth Theological Initiative.